Welcome! Tonight we are going to spend a lot of time, or maybe a little time, going over taxes. No, Sue's going to spend a lot of time. I'm just going to sit back and watch and smile. Anyhow, usually that's the first question when someone comes into Mary Kay is about taxes. So every year tax laws will change, and Sue is going to go over some of those. Right before we came on here, she was even going into some of the things that have changed even this past year. So before we do that, I want to go ahead and introduce you to Sue Kozlowski. So go ahead, Sue, tell them a little bit about yourself.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sue Kozlowski. I've been building my Mary Kay business for about 22 years. And one of my favorite things, believe it or not, is taxes and numbers. Don't know why, that's just me. I love helping women though, and through taking care of themselves with our Mary Kay products and through helping them with their finances, whether it's offering the opportunity or helping a sister consultant with tax benefits. So that's me. I also, during the day, I run a daycare. I've been doing that for 12 years. And yeah.
Well, thank you, Sue. And yes, one of the things that Rebecca just said is so glad to have an expert. Totally agree with that. Yes. All right. So our one of the first things that I'm going to do before we get into the taxes, because before we were getting a profile card inside of our starter kit, and there are so many consultants right now that are coming in with the e-start, and they don't know very much about the profile card or none at all. So this is what a profile card looks like. It's just kind of a rectangular piece, a lot of questions on the front, and then suggestions on the back. And so it will basically ask them for their name, their first and last, their email address, their address. So you get to know a client a little bit more about themselves. I will ask the age range. It will also go into what their primary skincare needs are, and it will give options where the client can go ahead and circle them. It will talk about their skincare concerns, and then they can go ahead and circle them. Why is a profile card important? One, there's a lot of money to be found on a profile card. And two, there is, when you open it up, the answers are all behind it. I can remember as a new consultant thinking that that was the best information ever, because I didn't know the products as well, being a new consultant. I didn't use Mary Kay prior to coming into Mary Kay, the company. So this was a great cheat system for me. So if you have not already ordered your profile cards, and you are a newer consultant, or maybe a seasoned consultant wanting to jumpstart your business into 2021, go ahead and order some. Now, with that being said, there are some people that are taking the information off of their profile card, and they already have a Google account. They understand how to go ahead and do a Google form where they can go ahead and fill it out. If that is something that you want to do, that's perfectly okay. You can go ahead and have your guests go on and fill out a Google form, and then I can go ahead and screenshot all the answers, and I will put those into the comments as well. So again, it gives you information. It also gives you interest in what they want to learn. Now, when I talked about money that is found on a profile card, they typically can't go ahead and buy everything at their first appointment. So sometimes they'll talk about removing their eye makeup gently, but we didn't maybe on that appointment, your first appointment, go into the eye makeup remover. You went into maybe the cleansing system or the spa, but the oil-free eye makeup remover would possibly, it would take off their eye makeup. But let's say it's your first appointment, you didn't talk about the eye makeup remover. So that gives you other options. Let's say that they talked about being dry, but they didn't get the cleansing system that night. They got something else. So then you can go back to that profile card and zone in on the information that is on there, follow up with them if their skin is still dry, and then suggest some stuff. Again, in the area where it talks about learning of some interest, there's gift giving services, men's products. That's just another avenue of income. So you want all of that information easily at your fingertips. Okay, so that is one of the topics that I want to go ahead and talk about tonight. The other topic that I want to talk about before I turn it over to our expert is where, once you make the money, where do you put all of that information, right? Where do you put it? So I'm going to go ahead and do a little screen share for Connie's Crusaders. Let me go ahead here. All right, so you can go ahead and see that this is Connie's Crusaders. I'm on the discussion where you can just go ahead and make any posts, but you're gonna go ahead and go over here to media, and then I'm gonna go to albums. In albums, you're gonna go ahead and go down to boot camp number 2. Now, all of these boot camps are for newer consultants or seasoned consultants. If you wanna go ahead and go back in there, the boot camps house a lot of information, not only for newer consultants, but again, like I said, seasoned, and it also has videos. So in this boot camp number 2, you will see a variety of videos, and on this one here is your weekly accomplishment sheet. Now, Sue may go over a little bit more detail on that, but why is that so important is that you want to make sure that you are recording your weeks, whether it is a 0 week, you had no sales that week, or you had a stellar week, because it is much easier at the end of the year for tax time to go ahead and fill that out weekly. So then you know how much that you sold, and where maybe you had some expense, maybe you gave a discount, because if you do it at the end of the year, it is much, much, much harder. All right, so I am gonna go ahead and turn it over to, like, again, Rebecca talked about, our expert. So I will go ahead now. Sue, do you want me to share the screen now, or do you want to talk a little bit?
You can go ahead and share the screen now. That would be great.
Okay, very good.
All right, what Connie is sharing now is the tax report that I use. I update this every year with the information I find out. And, let me say, Connie just talked about the weekly accomplishment sheet. That is one important step to knowing what you're doing with your business. There's so many ways to recheck, see, are you putting in the time you want? Are you making the profit you want? And where is your money going that you're making? So you want to get used to doing your weekly accomplishment sheet every week, so you have that to look at. And you want to actually total up your receipts and that all your expenditures at the end of each month. That way you can always look at it and know where you're at. Keeping your records, there's several different ways of doing it. You put your receipts in an accordion file. I like to do that because it's easy to grab out and I know where everything is right there. There, you can do the manila envelope where you have one envelope for each month. There's, so many different ways, and there's no wrong way of doing it, but you want to be sure you keep your receipts all in one place. Then the next thing, when we start going to recording, again, there's a number of different ways to do it. We can do it paper and pencil, do it on your computer. You can use programs like QuickBooks, all different ways of doing it, just so you have a method you're comfortable with. If you're comfortable with it, you'll get used to it and you'll do it. So on this sheet, you'll notice I always put the year on the top. That's just for my quick thinking. First few years I started doing this, I'd have to write it in at the last minute. And it's like, you know what? I want it there right away. So you're going to list your total sales on top. And this, you can include the sales tax that you charge your customers in this. If you get commissions, commissions come when you start adding team members. We used to call them love checks. So you're going to list the total of that you've gotten. And then when you receive prizes from the company, you need to record what their value is. So that's the top portion of your sheet. When you begin your business or January 1st every year, you want to know what your inventory is, your starting inventory for that year. So you need to list that. You're going to list your Section 1 orders. Now, this is the important thing, is whenever you're doing your orders, adding up the amounts of them, whenever you're adding your personal use your cost, not retail cost. Okay. Then December 31st, do your ending inventory total. Now, doing inventory might scare a lot of people. If you only have a few things, it's not too bad. If you've been building your business for a while, you've got a good amount. So don't let it scare you though. What I always do is I take an order form from the company. You do not have to list, when it comes to your lip colors, your eye colors, you don't have to list each individual shade unless you want to know that much detail. You can
Hey,
put
Sue,
yes.
just for a quick second. Lisa is asking where we find this page. So I'm going to go ahead, you guys, and drop that into the files now. I'll go ahead, because this is Sue's, I'll go ahead and drop it down there for you. So if you want, you can go ahead and bring it up.
Okay. Thank you, Connie.
Mhm.
So anyways, you want to know what you have in inventory, and that another way of not having to do the paper is use the My Customer app. You can have your orders in there. It will scan your box, the label, and everything gets thrown in there. The only thing you have to be sure and do, and I have to be honest, I am not really good at that, of this part. I write receipts through My Customers, and I write receipts, paper receipts. So if you're writing paper receipts for a sale, it will not automatically show in your inventory in My Customers. So just be sure you're aware of that. Now, when it comes to taxes, I have a little explanation, because you will always see cost of goods sold. And how do you figure that out? So for us, you take the starting inventory and you take everything you've ordered. So say your starting inventory was worth $2,000. You've ordered another $1,000 over the year. So now you're at $3,000. But your personal use was $200. This person didn't use very much Mary Kay. And so now you're going to minus that 200 from that 3,000, which is 2,800. And then your ending inventory is $800. So your cost of goods sold is $2,000. And there's an example in this sheet that I just talked about that can kind of help you with that. That was the part that I always had trouble figuring out at first. A little note that I found out that is different this year is the products that you give away as samples, not the actual little samples, but if you would give away a full size product for a sample, for any incentives, come listen to the career chat and I'll give you an eyeshadow. For any hostess gifts, you can write those products off from your cost of goods sold. So that's actually a little bonus. You couldn't do it that way before. That's brand new this year. Then we get into what categories you need to list things as, so that you get all the tax deductions you can. First one is advertising. Well, advertising includes your personal website, any vendor event fees, and be sure you get receipts for them. If you're going in the past, Connie has signed up for bridal events, an example. And then we all would split the cost, whoever was doing it with her. So you need to get a receipt from Connie then showing that you paid this share of it. If you get posters made, products used for demo, online advertising, branded promotional merchandise, we turn around and we have our Mary Kay sweatshirts or t-shirts you can order. You can get the banner or the table liner that says Mary Kay on it. Anything like that. Your business cards and PCP. These are all parts of advertising. So you're going to add your cost for all of those up in that one section. A good practice for any business is to have a separate bank account. So any bank charges you have on your Mary Kay account is deductible, even if they're overdraft fees. Hopefully you don't have any of those. Dry cleaning. You can deduct the dry cleaning cost of a red jacket, of your director suit, of professional attire that you keep for Mary Kay events. So it can't just be anything. You know, when I first started, it was get one really nice dress or one really nice suit and wear it to everything. So then that would be able to be dry cleaned and deducted for it. Dues and publications. Whenever we have a meeting fee, usually for our bigger events or that Blingo, things like that, you're going to be sure and have some sort of receipt for it. If you join the Chamber of Commerce, any networking group like that you would join, you can deduct those dues. Employees, this is something really important. There's a lot of you out there who have people who come in and help you, whether it's helping you with your filling orders, if it's helping you get bookings, if it's helping you in your office. If you pay them more than $600 in the year, you must declare that and you must give them a 1099 miscellaneous form. And with that 1099 miscellaneous form, you have to fill out a 1096 form that you as the employer sends to IRS. All freight, shipping, postage is deductible. When you're sending something to a customer, your freight charges from your packing slips of your orders, anything and everything. If you're sending out Christmas cards right now to all your customers, that postage is deductible. Be sure and take that. You'd be surprised how much one stamp adds up.
Sue,
yes.
I'm going to interrupt just one more time. So when my kids lived with me, they would help me label my products. They would help me do certain things. So I would pay them. And at that point, I just had it below, the 600, but I was still able to tax deduct that. Is that still legal? Do you know?
It is legal so long as you have really good records to prove that that was the exact amount you paid them. Okay.
Okay.
No problem.
Thank you.
Next thing on here is gifts. You can deduct for gifts you give for a customer. You can deduct for gifts you might give to a team member, anything like that. The thing is, per person, you can only deduct a total of $25 a year. So you might give someone something worth $50, but you can only deduct 25 of it. You still want to be sure and show the actual cost of it in your records, but just so you know, that can differ. Any credit cards or loans that you have regarding your Mary Kay business, you can deduct the interest on them. So if you decided to take out a loan to build your inventory, deduct that interest. If you use a Mary Kay credit card or any credit card that is solely used for Mary Kay, you can deduct the interest. If you carry the Mary Kay product insurance, you can deduct that whole amount that you pay per year for that, and that is really worth it. Any legal fees, whether it's tax prep fees, if you go to H&R Block or any of those places, if you buy TurboTax like I do, you can deduct the cost of that TurboTax program. Any attorney fees or accountant fees you might have for any of that, you can deduct all of those under legal fees. Meals and food. How often do you meet with someone over coffee or coffee and pie or lunch? You might meet with Connie to talk to her. You might meet with your team leader. You meet with prospective clients, be it whether it's a career chat or just trying to get them to book a facial for the first time. You can deduct 50% of whatever that meal or that cup of coffee cost you. Now, this is for those meetings like that. It is also if you're on a trip event like career conference or seminar, anything like that, you can still deduct that food, but it's only 50%, even though you're away from home. And a good habit to do with this sort of thing, when you have your restaurant receipt, just jot down. If it was meeting with Connie, just write down Connie and recruiting. Doesn't have to be a whole explanation, just who you met with and why you met with them. When it's an event, any receipt you have for career conference of food, just write down career conference. That's all you need. But it's a great way, instead of trying to remember, oh gosh, what took place on this day, it's just going to make it a lot easier for you. Office expenses. This is anything to help you run your office. Are you using Scipio right now? That's a tax deduction. Do you use Microsoft Office or Canva or any program that helps you design anything that has to do with Mary Kay? It is deductible. Also, did you buy a new computer, a new printer, a new desk, or shelves for your inventory? All of that is considered an office expense. Take advantage of it. Then you have office supplies. This, I have to tell you, even after all these years, this category always throws me for a loop when I realize how much I've spent on office supplies. I am like a kid in a candy store when I go into Office Depot or Staples. But file folders, printer paper, printer ink, if you go and have copies made at Staples or Office Depot, thank you cards, birthday cards, Christmas cards, pens, your date books, spiral notebooks, whatever you need to help do an area of your business, that's an office supply. All your envelopes you buy, your padded envelopes in that, be sure and include that there too. Then any ProPay or credit card fees. This is ProPay, we have an annual fee we have to pay. So you would deduct that there. Then you turn around and it's, in the past, it wasn't a big deal to keep track of sales tax. And right now, I haven't found a definitive of if that has changed. But if you're going to record sales tax in your total sales, you've got to separate it out now. So you're going to separate any sales tax you paid, not what people paid back to you, but what you paid. So you will find that on your packing slips of all your orders and of your receipts of your different supplies that you buy. Then you have your section 2 items, and that it's easy. Again, just look at your packing slip and it gives you a total of what you've paid for those. But you want to be sure and have that because it is a supply on its own. Then I always like to separate a general supplies area. And that's if you get more mirrors, if your cotton balls, your disposable wands and brushes, your cloths, items to dress up your display if you're doing vendors or you want your table to look nice when you're doing a single facial, your tablecloths, your lights, your stands, whatever. Anything you use while doing business that is not an office supply. So, this again is amazing. And if you go to Walmart and you're buying a few groceries, but it's like, oh, I need cotton balls, for my facial coming up. You can buy your cotton balls with your groceries, but highlight it or circle it or something so that you know that's the deduction in that receipt. You still have to save that receipt. Then you've got your telephone and communications. This is the portion of your cell phone that you use for Mary Kay and your internet cost. Now, when I say portion, I don't know too many of us that has a separate cell phone just for your Mary Kay business. But we're going to figure out space in that. And if you're keeping records on your weekly accomplishment sheet with not only your sales, but this is something I personally love to do, is I will put down, okay, on Monday, I made 5 calls. On Tuesday, I made 10 calls. On Wednesday, I left 12 Facebook messages, things listed on your weekly accomplishment sheet. One, even if you have a 0 week, you look at it and you're working towards your goal. 2, you can figure out, okay, I've spent, looking at my weekly accomplishment sheets, I've spent, let's say, 52 hours on the telephone for Mary Kay. Well, we know we spend a lot more than that on our phone for personal use. So you can kind of figure, maybe it's like 10%, maybe it's like 25% of what I use my phone for. So that's how you figure out that portion. Then you have travel expenses. You've got travel of going to an event. Maybe you're going to seminar and you don't want to drive with Connie. Or you do drive with Connie, or you want to take a plane. You're going to put those costs there. Car costs, you're going to do your mileage, your tolls, your parking. You're going to record lodging if you're staying overnight. If you have to do any laundry while you're there, you can deduct that. And again, on any of these receipts, write the event at the top of the receipt. You want to also, and I didn't put this in under the travel expense on this form, but when you travel to a customer's home, whether it's to do a facial or a class. Eventually, we're going to be able to do them in person again. Whether you're dropping off product, if you're picking up something or dropping off something at Connie's, or we're back at our, live meetings, deduct that mileage. It adds up. I have to be totally honest with you. I probably get to deduct at least $1,000 every year on my mileage. And mileage is 57.5 cents per mile this year. It went down by half a cent, but boy, does that add up. Now, if you're like me, I may like numbers and that, but to record in a little notebook in my car, every time I got in my car, my beginning odometer and my ending odometer drove me crazy. It was too time consuming. There are tons of apps you can get for your phone that will automatically record. Every time your phone is in the car with you, it will record the miles. Some of them you have to turn on and off. Some of them is automatic. I love Everlance. I know there's a lot of good ones out there. That one, I pay a monthly fee for. I pay $8 a month. But I also they have a free version. But because I have my Mary Kay and I have my daycare, I can't just swipe to business. When you have their premium, and this is the only program I found that could do this, I was able to categorize Mary Kay miles separate from daycare miles. So I love that advantage. And again, it just runs automatically. I don't have to turn it on or off. And once a week while I'm sitting watching TV, I open up the app and it's like, okay, I know this went to Mary Kay. This was personal. This was medical. This was daycare. And you just swipe it whichever way you want, and it's all separated for you. So it makes recording your travel so much easier. Take advantage of it. Then you have your training and workshops. This is cost of online training or workshops. We have a lot of them right now this past year, and we're probably going to for a good part of next year too. Your registration fee of any event or training. So career conference, seminar, fall retreat, January jumpstart. There's usually always fees with them. So you're going to record it under there. Any other training you go to that can help. If you buy books or you decide to do coaching to help you in your business, that goes under the training and workshops too. I love reading self-help books when it comes to building my business and my confidence. So not only is it going to help you internally, it'll help you tax-wise too, to remember and deduct that. Then I have a part that gets into the vehicle information. January 1st, you always want to get your first odometer reading. That's a fresh start every year. December 31st, when you come home after partying, and this year I hope you're partying at home, you want to record your ending odometer. Those are the two that you have to write down yourself and you have to keep. Now, if you're doing an app on your phone, you already know how many miles you use for business and how many miles were personal. If you can actually deduct for medical costs, and those are kind of hard to deduct. You have to have a lot of medical costs in 1 year. But you want to have a separate, yes.
Hold on just for a second. Katrina just asked, is this where we would put the coaching fees? I believe when you were talking about training and workshops, if there is a coach, is that where you would put the fees for that? Okay, thank you.
If there is a coach, put it under the training and workshops. All right. So then if you have medical, you record that number separate. And you can also deduct if you do a lot of volunteer or charity work. You can deduct your miles for that. Now I have on this sheet, unfortunately, they don't give you the same deduction for each thing. Business miles is 57.5 cents a mile. Medical miles is 17 cents a mile. And charity or volunteering is 14 cents a mile. So you have to kind of judge and figure out, do you do enough to keep a record of all of those or what? But definitely keep track of your business. You can, further down on this page, it talks about another way to do your vehicle deductions. There are two methods. I call them the simple way and the headache way. The simple way is just taking your standard deduction of 57.5 cents per mile. The headache way is to keep every receipt that you get, put gas in your car, oil change, any repairs or upkeep, your tags and license fees, lease payments or interest on car loans, and your insurance. If you keep all of that, and you have to know your vehicle purchase price with that too, then you can deduct a portion of all of that. But I gotta say, that's a lot of work.
Okay, Sue, one more question
Yes.
is, can I get my beginning mileage from the ending mileage for last year?
Yes.
Mhm. Okay.
Yep.
Good. Thank you.
That's a good question.
Mhm.
I actually didn't figure that out for years. Now, in home office deductions, that's being able to deduct part of your home because we are a home-based business. This is where a number of changes have come in place this year. And it's really important to be aware of them. First of all, the area that you can deduct under your home office has to be used exclusively for your business. If you have an actual office like Connie is sitting in right now, you deduct the whole square footage of that office. But maybe you're like me. I don't have an office in my home. I keep my desk in part of my living room, and I have my inventory in part of my bedroom. So in that case, I can deduct the square footage of my desk area. And I have a desk and I have shelves right here to the side. So I can deduct this whole little rectangle square footage, and I can deduct the square footage that all my shelvings to store my inventory or packaging things, all our envelopes, anything you might keep in stock, your records, you can deduct the square footage of those spaces. But what's different this year is if you don't have a desk, but you pull out your paperwork to work on the table in your house, and then when you're done, you put away your paperwork and you sit down and eat at that table space is not deductible anymore. If you are holding, walking into your house and walking to where you're going to do the facial, or to the bathroom, you can deduct the cost it takes to make that area look good, because all stores want to have an appeal in how they look. But you cannot deduct the square footage as home office space. So I hope I explained that clearly.
You did good. Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
that was good.
Okay. So, really think about what you're deducting there, because they had said that on the IRS website when I was reading it, that they are really, really cracking down on this. If they see too much square footage, they're going to question. So just be aware of that. How do you take the square footage of your house or your apartment and figure out how much space, how much percentage of that is home office? So what you can do is you measure each room of your house, and say you have a 10 by 12 foot room. So that equals 120 square feet. You're going to add all your rooms together, that square footage, and that gives you the total square footage of your house. Then you can turn around and take the square footage of your Mary Kay space, whether it's your office space or it's your different sections like I have, and add that together and then multiply it. So my square footage is put together is probably about 100 square feet. So that's my Mary Kay square footage. And then to find the business percentage of your house, you take the square footage of, let me get this right, the square footage of your business area and divide it by the total square footage of your house. And I have this written down on this sheet. And that gives you the business percentage. So if your office space was 150 square feet and the total square footage of your house was 1,200 square feet, when you divided that, it would give you 12.5%. And that's your business percentage. Why you need your business percentage is so you can now take more deductions. You're going to total up the cost all year of all your utilities, your gas, electric, water, sewer, garbage, cable, all of it. Put that in there. If you rent, how much do you pay for rent each month? Put the total in there for the whole year. This is all for the whole year. If you're a homeowner, put in your mortgage interest for the year and your real estate taxes that you've had to pay for the year. Put in the cost of all repairs and maintenance that you did to your house. Did you change decor? Did you paint? Did you landscape? Any of that? Did you have to repair the roof or replace your water heater? Add all that up. Insurance. Whether you're a homeowner or a renter, you should have either of those insurances. So you're going to put down the total amount you pay per year for that. And this is separate from the cell phone recording, but you can put down your telephone base rate for the year. So if you've got a plan, if all you have is your cell phone, you have a basic plan cost. So that is what you would put there. Then you're going to take all of those and you're going to figure out what your, in the case of my example here, your 12.5% of each of those costs are. That is your deduction of each of those things. And believe me, that adds up a good amount. Then I had a question about basically, is it a business or is it a hobby? And, do you turn your business into a hobby? If I had to say, should you turn your business into a hobby? I would say no. Only because as soon as you do that, you cannot deduct anything. Nothing. And we get good deductions this way. Now, the IRS will consider your business a hobby if you have shown a loss 3 out of 5 years. However, even if you've got a loss on that 4th year, if you have really good records with all your receipts and you write out a short-term business plan on how you're going to try and increase your profits in the future with dates. Remember, any goal, we always have an end date. You would do that with this too. If you have those in place, they cannot say you're a hobby when you don't want to be. Okay? And even if you're claiming it as a hobby, if you sold $5,000 in product, and when I first read this part, I thought it was kind of crazy because I thought, well, if you sell $5,000 in a year, you're doing business. You know, you're doing good business. But say you really weren't keeping track of what you were spending and you ended up spending $8,000, $10,000. Well, now you're at a large loss. But whether you have a loss or not, if you've sold 5,000 in a year, you have to claim it. So that is something new this year too. And so it's something important to know. Like I said, if you don't have any need for deductions, I guess you could do it as a hobby and just supply yourself or just supply a family member here or there. But if you can take these deductions, it makes a big difference. It really does. So that's what I have. And I did not keep track of time. I'm sorry, Connie. You're on mute. Connie, you're on mute.
Thank you. So one of the things that Katrina was just saying, I've been unemployed most of the year, so I think I need to claim it as a hobby. So I'm not sure. I'm not totally sure on that. Do you have any ideas on that? Yeah, and you're probably not alone, Kat. And I'm sure there's other consultants, but we might have to reach out, to an advisor for more information on that.
I think I don't know on that at all. And I am sure there's a lot of people in that situation right now. So I would say to contact an accountant and see what they say. You can ask an accountant, can you just give me a free consultation? I have a quick question for you, and they should answer it. But
I think you would probably be able to even call in to an H&R Block, advisor and say, hey, this is my question, unemployment, how does that work this year? And you might have to ask a little more detailed question than that, but I agree. See if you can't get some free advice.
Always go for the free first.
That's right. That's right. And Katrina, if you find out any information, maybe in the this group for Women Out Working, post inside here so then we can learn what you have learned, and maybe even make a separate post, or maybe do both. Put it in the comments and then maybe make a separate post. So anyhow. Fantastic job, Sue. I have learned so much. And again, one of the things that I said when we got on, my father-in-law was a tax consultant, and I talked about me doing, I was the tax consultant or deduction queen for a long time, but I am learning everything changes every year. You've got to make sure that you're up on the standards, because if not, you're going to be liable for an audit, and that's the last thing that you want. I've been through one. It was easy only because I had so many of the other things all in place that it wasn't really a big deal for me. So you do want, like she said, make sure you're doing the dates, make sure you're putting the comments on the top, and just know the tax laws. So thank you for spending, gosh, 50 minutes with us. So I so appreciate you, Sue, going through each of those individually, so we could go ahead and learn. You've been amazing. And thank you guys for all being here. Again, it will be in Connie's Crusaders. I also will have a YouTube link that I can go ahead and send to you, your team, if you have any other questions or need to see some things. So anyhow, thank you so much for joining us. Bye, everybody. Good night.
Bye.